Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and good Shabbos. It is an absolutely delightful, chilly evening here in Huntington. It was raining during the week, which made it seem colder than what it actually was. And in German, I call that nasskalt, wet cold. It gets inside your bones and makes you agitated, or at least it makes me agitated because my feet always get wet, and then that makes me cold. But it was a pretty nice day today. Got up, it was overcast, and there was some rain. But towards the end of the afternoon, the sky broke open, and there was some blue and some sun, leading us into Shabbat, the last Shabbat of October. And if you look up in the sky tomorrow night, you're going to see a full moon, which means that we're in the middle of the month of Cheshvan already, the middle of the month. It's also Halloween, but, and then tomorrow night, you're also going to turn your clocks back an hour. Like we need another hour of 2020, but you know what? I can use the sleep. So we are here this evening. It is Shabbat, and I am glad and blessed to be here. And we're going to have Scott come up, and he's going to bench licht for us, as they would say in the Yiddish. So he's going to light the candles for us. And you can find the blessing on page 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. We thank Scott for lighting the candles, and we're going to turn to page 6. Page 6, and we'll read responsively. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be for all who enter the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
All right. Let us begin Kabbalat Shabbat, the service for welcoming Shabbat. One of these days, I'm going to sneak in one of the early Psalms with a Shlomo Carlebach tune, and so we can ease a little bit more into our Shabbat services. But tonight, let's start with Kabbalat Shabbat. Let's start with Lecha Dodi on page 20 and 21, and we'll sing verses 1 and 2 and 8 and 9. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela, Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela, Yamin u'smol tifrotzi, V'et Adonai taritzi, Al yadish ben partzi, v'nismecha v'nagila, lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela, Bohi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha uv'sola, Toch emunei am segula, Bohi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela. Let's turn to page 22, and we'll read together the top paragraph, a psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai. How very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. And we'll continue with the Hebrew in the indented paragraph. Tzadik tamar yifrach, Ke'erez balvanon yiske shetuli beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu. Od yenuvun b'seva, D'shenim v'ra'ananim yihiyu lehagi, ki ashar Adonai tzuri v'lo havlatabo. Let's turn to page 24 and continue welcoming the angels who come to spend Shabbat with us. 2 angels, because on Shabbat everything is doubled, right? That's why for Kiddush we usually have 2 loaves, right? Everything gets doubled on Shabbat, and the mystics, the Mekubalim, teach us that on Shabbat we get an extra soul. We get a soul that spends its time in heaven and comes down to be with us on Shabbat. So it doesn't get schmutzig during the week. So it comes down, hangs with us for Shabbat, and then leaves at Shabbat, and it's escorted by 2 angels. And these angels are whom we are greeting on page 24 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we're going to move on to our Avit, the evening service, the Shabbat, the evening service for Shabbat on page 145. And we'll begin with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalmad yivrach chirutei v'yamlik malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zman kahariv v'yimeru Amen. Yesh me Rabba mevorach leolam olam me'amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram be'alma v'yimeru Amen. Page 146, Baruch Hu, the call to evening worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Havorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. Now let's read responsively on page 147. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom.
Sorry, I was too early in the book.
147?
I was in the first one. Sorry, I'm almost there. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures.
Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 148. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shofeinu uvkumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki heim chayenu ve'orech yameinu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla yomam v'layla ve'ahavatecha tasir mimenu li'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lektecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam liot al yadecha v'hayu latotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'hisharecha Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. And page 151, let's read responsively. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Top of page 152. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, no tehilo o sefele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, Bokeyam lifnei Moshe, Ze'eli anu v'amruhu, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, V'nehemar kifar Adonai et Yaakov, Ugalo mi'et chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Top of page 53, the top two lines of Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. And together in the English, give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. And top of page 154, one of my favorite parts of the Shabbat service, Vishamru. Top of 154. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein bnei Yisrael, et hi leolam. V'shamru bnei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, v'shamru V'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. All right, we have reached the center point of the evening service as we do it now, and that's the tefillah, also known as the Amidah. And we're going to begin on 155, 156, and 157, chanting together, and then silently 158 through the end on 167. And you can chant along with us in the Hebrew, you can read the English, or you could spend silent time in your own prayer during the Amidah. But we're going to begin on page 155. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Hanura, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Oel Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer Moshia U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, V'Yizrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Metim Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei Metim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Cholim, Umatir Hasurim, Umekayeh Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'Gevorot, Umidom Melach, Melech Meimito Mechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Veneman atah lachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim. All right, let's turn back to page 160 and read the middle paragraph together in English. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Let's turn to 163 for the Modim, the prayer thanking God or giving us a moment in the prayer for some gratitude. And so let's read on the top of 163 responsibly. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being.
All right, and page 164, we'll close out the Amidah with the prayer for peace. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'v'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. And let's read responsively in the middle of the page. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes.
Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart.
Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivorech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. All right, we're going to jump ahead to page 253 for the Mishaberach for the evening, and that's the Debbie Friedman version in the middle of the page. And if you know anybody who needs a little extra healing or a little extra comfort this Shabbat, keep them in your thoughts, close to your heart, for the Mishaberach on page 253. Mishaberach Ahavoteinu Mikor habracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor habracha le'ahavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And we'll jump ahead to pages 258 and 259. Prayer for our congregation, the prayer for our country, and the prayer for the state of Israel. Let's read together in English. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our offerings bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in the darkness. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'Golo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Geulatenu, Hagein Aleha Bi'avrat Chastecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha V'Amitcha L'Rosheha, Sareha V'Yoetzeha, V'Takneim Be'etza Tova Milfanecha, V'Natata Shalom Ba'aretz, V'Simchat Olam Liyoshveha, V'Nomar Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. All right, friends. Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos.
There's Scott, yes. This week is Parshat Lech Lecha. It's one of my favorites. I have 54 favorite parshiot in the Torah, and I hope to let you know what they are someday, right? But I like Lech Lecha. It's the beginning of the Abraham story. The story of Abraham, although he's not yet known as Abraham or Avraham, he's known as Avram, and his wife is Sarai. Right, so that's just to keep you up with who's in the parsha. We're moving away from what I call the prehistoric moments of the Torah, and I'm not talking prehistoric like the dinosaurs. What I'm talking about is prehistoric before Jewish time really begins. And even now, it doesn't really begin, because we're just talking about one guy right now named Avram. And God says to him, Lech Lecha, go. And Avraham, unlike everybody else in the Torah, answers him. And when God calls out Avraham, Avraham says, Hineni, I'm here. And he does what God wants him to do up to a point. Avraham will argue with God a lot, which is refreshing after Noach, the story of Noach, where God says, hey, Noach, I'm going to destroy the world. And Noach says nothing. Nothing. And this is one of the reasons why the rabbis always like to say, look, Noach is called a tzaddik at the very beginning of the parsha of Noach. He was ish tzaddik. He was a righteous man. But we don't get that about Abraham. But that's the only good thing we get about Noah, is that he was righteous, that, God liked him. But with Abraham, God takes a very, very special relationship, makes a very special relationship with Abraham, because Abraham's willing to talk back to God. Noah doesn't. And that's why the rabbis say, well, God had to have another creation, a creation of a nation, that he starts with Avram, because Noah only thought about himself. God says, I'm going to destroy the world, but I'm going to save you. And Noah is like, okay, whatever, I'll build the ark. But we'll see with Abraham. He likes to argue with God. So God tells Abraham to leave his homeland, and he listens. And because Abraham listens, God promises to make him a great nation, right? Many, many descendants. God promises to bless him. And the most important, at least for us, is that God promises to give land to his descendants. And ultimately that becomes the land of Canaan, and we know it as the land of Israel. And so Abraham sets out, and he travels with his wife, and whose name is Sarai, and his nephew Lot. And then we find out that there's a famine that hits the land, and Avram heads to Mitzrayim. He heads to Egypt. And while he's on his way, he says to Sarai, listen, you're a good-looking woman, and I love you. Well, actually, Abraham doesn't say, I love you. Nobody in the Torah until much later says, I love you. But Abraham says, look, you got to pretend to be my sister. Because if they know you're my wife, they're going to kill me and take you. But if you're my sister, they'll take you, but not kill me. So it's win-win for me, right? So this is an interesting story. It actually shows up in 3 different permutations in the Torah, twice with Abraham, and once with Yitzchak. So we'll have a lot to say about this particular story. So Pharaoh does indeed take Sarai, and, after spending a little bit of time with her, a plague breaks out. And he says to Abraham, why didn't you tell me she was your wife and pass her off as your sister? Because now I have a plague to deal with. All right. So like I said, this story will repeat 2 more times in the Torah. It's called, when it happens, it's a doubling. In this case, it's a trebling. The story repeats 3 times. After the time in Mitzrayim, Avram and Lot quarrel about where their cattle will graze, so they decide to divide the land up. Lot takes the plain of the Jordan near Sodom and Amorah, near Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham takes the piece in Canaan. He takes a piece in the land that ultimately will be Israel, near a city that we all know named Hebron. Later, Sodom and Amorah are raided by a king, and Lot is kidnapped. And Abraham comes to Lot's rescue and rescues him, gets him back. And the king of Sodom says to Abraham, let me make you rich. And Abraham refuses the reward and actually says to the king, I will not be made rich by you. Because he already knows that he's going to get blessings from God. So Abraham does not need that. We then come up upon one of the recurring tropes for the rest of the book of Genesis. This is going to come up a lot, but it starts here, and that's difficulty having children, right? Everybody, with the exception of Leah, everybody has difficulty either getting pregnant or they have difficult pregnancies, and this remains throughout the book of Genesis. This trope keeps coming back. And so what Abraham does is he takes, or what Sarai does is gives Abraham her maidservant Hagar and says to Abraham, take her. And if she bears a child, it'll be your son, but you need to have children. And while Hagar is pregnant, she disrespects Sarai. She kind of walks around saying, all this time with the old man and he can't get you pregnant, and 5 minutes with me and look, I'm going to have a baby. And so Sarah makes it difficult for Hagar, and Hagar is forced to flee. And an angel, the Abraham story is full of angels, malachim, messengers, sends her back to be with Avram and Sarai, and she has a son. And they give him one of the most beautiful names in the Torah, Yishmael. And that means God listens, God will hear. And ultimately he becomes if Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov and family are our ancestors, Ishmael becomes the ancestors to a lot of the Muslims. Actually, they hold him as being their founder, Ishmael. And at the very end of the parsha, we get a name change. Avram becomes Avraham. Sarai becomes Sarah. And we get really the first commandment given to Avraham, and that's to circumcise himself and all the people in his community. And so he circumcises himself and all the males in the community. And legend has it that Ishmael was 13 when he was circumcised. And that's where some Muslim communities will or did circumcise their males at age 13. Later, it gets put down after Yitzchak is born. It's not in this parsha, it's in next week's parsha, that the baby boys are circumcised at 8 days. So a lot going on in this story, some stuff that, we might not really pay attention to. And hopefully one of these days we'll get together and we'll have Torah study on a regular basis during the week, and we can look at these stories in greater depth. All right, 2 weeks ago, we ended up our discussion on the Ten Commandments, the Aseret HaDibrot. And one thing that I was thinking about is I went back and rewrote them, right? If I were going to be giving the Ten Commandments, or the Aseret HaDibrot, to a people, or if they were going to be given to me, I wrote them, how I think they should be. Right now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the ones that we have. They're perfect. They're fine. They've been with us for a very long time. But I gave them a little zhuzh. I gave them a little updating in some ways, and I changed a little bit. Because a lot of the later commandments are don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, and it makes sense. Don't murder. But for some of them, I flipped them. I turned them into positives rather than negatives. So here's my take on the Aseret HaDibrot, and you don't have to agree with me. You don't. The first one, dare to acknowledge God as your God. God brought your ancestors out of Egypt, out of slavery, and God continues to bring you out of the narrow places. All right, so that first command. The original statement really isn't a command in our tradition. It's God introducing God's self. But here it's acknowledge God. Take the leap of faith and acknowledge that there's something out there beyond you. Number two, God can't be imagined. God is not a concept or an image. God is. Right, so no, don't try to put God in a white beard and robe, sitting on a chair. Right, that's not God. Number three, don't tie God's name to ungodly things. Don't claim that God endorses that which is evil, violent, or self-serving. Right, don't bring God into fights that you're trying to justify bad behavior. Right? If there's anything that the Torah teaches us, if there's anything that our tradition teaches us, our tradition is that of life and love. Right? So don't bring God into hatred. Don't use God to justify hating other groups. Don't bring God in to justify your own selfish desires. Number four, make the Sabbath special. Right? Do something on the Sabbath to make it special. Remember to rest and to breathe. Number 5 is respect and care for your parents, and by extension, promote the well-being of all elderly people. Right? I think that's really what the 5th commandment, when it says, honor your father and your mother. Right? Have respect for those who came before you. Take care of them when they need it, because they took care of you when you needed it. Right? So that's the 5th of the 10. The 6th, which is usually do not murder. Do not wantonly destroy any life. Right? The 6th commandment is often about human life, but I want to extend that to all life. Don't kill for the sake of killing. Don't murder, especially, but don't wantonly destroy anyone's life. Number 7 is the adultery one, right? There's that old joke that Moses comes down from Har Sinai and he's very excited and he says to the children of Israel, listen, I got him down from 15 to 10. That's the good news. The bad news, adultery is still in, right? Not my joke. I heard Mel Brooks say it. But the 7th for me is all sexuality is sacred. Do not degrade it. Do not degrade others or yourself by misusing it through violence or deceit. Right? We have the gift of love, and we can share that gift with other people. And we can get really intimate with other people as well. Don't abuse it. Don't misuse it. Number 8, do not steal. I left that as it is. I like that one. Don't steal. Share. Be generous. Don't exploit others, their ideas, or their time. All right. Number 9, about swearing deceitfully. Speak truthfully and kindly. Speech is a gift, and it should be used to elevate us. Avoid gossip, slander, and those who partake in them. And the last one about coveting. Practice gratitude. Don't overconsume. Be happy with what you have. All right? So if we were going to have the 10 commandments given to us, I think I would like something like that. Right? So think about those. Think about the 10 commandments. Think about how they influence us. Think about how they're often interpreted or misinterpreted. Right? We talked about the commandment often, ours is don't murder. But outside our tradition, they say don't kill. Right? But use the 10 commandments are very important. So we should think about them. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos.
The choir is here tonight. All right, friends, we are near the end of our service. Let's actually, this week I remembered, right? Let's go back to page 5, I think it is. Nope, it's page 4. Page 4, and then on page 5, where we'll have Kiddush for Shabbat evening. This is usually where I would put it in after I was done talking, and then right before the Aleinu. So pages 4 and 5. Vahi erev vahi voker yom hashishi. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivam. Vayechal Elohim bayom hashvihi melachto asher asa. Vayishbot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayavarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i. Vayikadesh oto, kivo shavat mikol melachto, asher bara Elohim la'asot. Savri.
Chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, Zecher letziat Mitzrayim, Givanu v'acharta, V'otanu kidashta, Mikol ha'amim, V'shabbat kodshecha, V'ahava uvratzon, Hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Now, page 282. Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kagoye haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot hadama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומי. Hu Eloheinu Einod, Emet Malkeinu Efesu Lato, Kakahatu V'Torahato, V'Yadata Hayom V'Hashevota, Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, Bashamayim Ima'al, V'yal ha'aretz, mihi tachat einod. Let's read together on 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. This week we observed the following yahrzeits. Janet Baker, married to David Baker, mother to John, Emily, and Susan. Jerome Katz, husband of Carol. Grant R. Miller, Charlotte's father. Stephen Radow, Judy's brother. Gladys Shorrock, Beryl Carandy's mother, Dan Greenstein, relative of Murray Greenstein, Frida Tully, Brenda Glick's mother, Erna Frollo, Susan Miller's mother, Dr. Maureen B. Milicia, daughter of Edna Campbell and life partner of Bonnie Morrison. Louis Solomon, Stuart Snyder, Stephen Snyder's father, Simon Mayer, Joan Weisberg's father, Joe Schneiderman, Milford's father. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us always, and may they all rest in peace. Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 294. Yit Kadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ve'alma Divrach Yebrute, V'yamlik Malchute, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, Uvchaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala V'zman Kari V'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam L'Amel Maya. Yit Barach V'yishtabach V'yit Pa'ar V'yit Romam V'yit Naseh. V'yit Hadar V'yit Alev V'yit Halal Shmei D'Kudisha B'richu. Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbachata V'nechemata Da'amiran B'alma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mrumav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. During the Second Temple period, there was a governor of Judea named Gedaliah, and he was assassinated by another Jew. And in order for the rabbis who were shocked at this, right, a Jew taking up arms and slaying another Jew, a leader, they insisted, or they instituted Tzom Gedalia, the fast of Gedalia, which is the day after Rosh Hashanah. It's a little known fast. It goes from sun up to sundown. It's a minor fast, but it has always been there to remind us that Jews are capable of violence against other Jews, and it's not something that we like. I bring this up now not because it's right after Rosh Hashanah. We're almost a month out of the high holidays. But because 25 years ago this week, Yitzhak Rabin was murdered by a religious Jew. Only the second time in our history where a Jewish leader has been assassinated by another Jew. 25 years ago. It seems like forever, and yet it's just a blink of an eye. Right? Yitzhak Rabin, whether you liked him or didn't like him, and there are pluses and minuses on both sides. I found him a tremendously admirable individual who wanted only the best for his countrymen and for the land that he served and loved all his life. And when he was assassinated by a man whose name I'm not going to mention because it doesn't deserve to be mentioned, but when he was murdered by that man, my heart broke, because if anybody could have brought peace to the Middle East, to Israel and the Palestinians, many, and myself included, believe that dream died when Yitzhak Rabin died as well. So I just bring this up. 25 years ago, a quarter of a century ago, Israel lost one of its greatest leaders, someone whose very core called him to serve the land as a soldier and then as a leader. May his memory be for a blessing. And now you're going to get a PSA from me, a public service announcement. I don't talk politics from the Amud, from the Bima. I'm very interested in politics. I have a lot to say about politics at times, but I don't preach from the bema about politics, what you should believe, what you should not believe, who you should vote for, who you shouldn't vote for. I know that there are clergy people out there who will tell you from their pulpits who to vote for and why and all that. No, what I am going to tell you, what I'm going to ask of you, is that if you haven't already voted, vote. If you can vote early, if they're still taking votes at your local polls, and if not early, go out on Tuesday and vote. I don't care who you vote for. I really don't. You can write my name in if you want, right? But go out and participate in our democracy. Our democracy, our republic, our democratic republic is not something that we pass off the heavy lifting to other people, right? We have a say in the government. And by our votes, we hold people accountable, whether or not they are doing what they promised us, whether or not they delivered. We have the power. So go and vote, right? Don't care who you vote for. Go and vote. Because if you don't vote, you don't get to talk politics with me, right? First question out of my mouth when somebody wants to discuss politics with me is, did you vote? And if the answer is no, I have nothing to say. You didn't participate in the process, so you have nothing to say. Your person didn't win or lose, you have nothing to say. You can pontificate all you want to somebody else. If you want to talk politics with me, you got to vote. Go out and vote. I voted on Wednesday. I felt good. I voted, right? And I'm hoping that my voting on Wednesday made the line just a little bit shorter for somebody who couldn't vote early but has to go on Tuesday because they're expecting long lines. And I had a line. There was a line at the courthouse, the courthouse. But I was in and out within 35 minutes. From when I parked my car to when I got back into the car, it was about 35 minutes. And so vote. Go and vote. I don't care who you vote for. Just go out and vote. That's about as political as I'm going to get, right? Vote. That's our right. Nobody can take it away from us. And if somebody does, if somebody tries to intimidate you, if somebody tries to make you feel bad for voting, vote. It's our right. Guaranteed to us. Every soldier who ever served and whoever fought for us so that we could have those rights. Vote. Don't care who you vote for. Go out and vote. Maybe I'm going to start requiring people to wear the little I voted sticker. I'll talk to you if you wear an I voted sticker. Right? No, just please go out and vote. Again, I don't care who you vote for. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not telling you what your politics should be. Just vote. I'll say it one more time. Just vote. I think you can vote early. You can still vote tomorrow here at the courthouse. At the courthouse, and then Tuesday. And if you've already voted, good on you. Yasha Koach. I look forward to our discussions. All right. Let's see. Wednesday, the day after voting. Right? See how I got that back in there? The day after voting. The day after you vote, you can sing. And not only can you sing with the best little Yiddish choir anywhere in this country. And they're going to be nice. They're going to let you sing even if you haven't voted. But I'm going to push them. I'm going to say, make sure they vote. Have their little stickers. But that's Wednesday night at 7, and you'll get a Zoom reminder from Martha. But if you already have a Zoom reminder from Martha, you can use it. It's not once and done. It's a good one. Whenever you want to log in for the Yiddish choir, you can use that one. And pretty soon we're going to be sending out the schedule of adult ed for the rest of 2020 and into 2021. And I'll tell you what, it starts in November with 2 sessions. They're going to be Sunday sessions on death and dying. What our tradition says about death and dying. We're not going to talk a lot about the afterlife because that's a whole other class for another time. But there's enough to talk about with death and dying and our traditions. We're going to do that. In December, we're going to have something about Hanukkah that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. And then for the rest of the year, every month we have 1 or 2 sessions, and I'm sure you're going to really, really enjoy that because I enjoy preparing and teaching. So that's coming up. And then next week, we're back on Friday. After you sing, right? After you vote, then you go sing, and then you come back, and it's Shabbos again. And I'm sure we'll have lots to be thankful for and lots to just want to relax after this week. All right. Vote.
I'm not sure that they got the message.
Scott thinks I should say vote more. Vote, vote, vote. Go out and vote. It's our right. All right, page 321. We'll close out with Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei Kiklot HaKol Levahado Yimlok Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu yiyeh b'tifara, v'hu echad v'ein sheni, lahamshilo lahachbira, b'li reshit v'li tachli, v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra, v'hu eli v'chai goali, v'tzur chevli b'yehitzara, Vehu nisi humanosli menat kohosi biomekra biahado avkid ruchi bieti shan biahira vim ruchi geviati Adonai li velo ira. Let's see who said. Who's on tonight? Jenny Bro, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, Jenny. USC champs 2009, Shabbat Shalom. Is that USC like Southern Cal?
Or South Carolina?
Or South Carolina. But if it's USC, Southern Cal, been a big Southern Cal fan forever. Melanie Samuels from Brooklyn, good Shabbos. Yes, everyone stay healthy. And GDT, good Shabbos, everyone watching, and especially those at B'nai Shalom in Huntington. Shabbat Shalom again from David in Orlando, Florida. All right, in Orlando. Stay safe and well, and Shabbat Shalom. All right, so thank you, everybody, for signing in and for being with us this evening. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, and we'll see you soon. Vote.